This is Melissa King, and I know y'all are used to me coming on talking about the financial stuff, the my econ, but today I want to come in and talk to you about something different. I wanted to use my platform to talk about something that's very near and dear to me that I'm a big advocate about, not just because it's affected my family, but it has also affected myself, and that is mental health awareness. May, and I know I drug it out to I'm a procrastinator. I waited to the last day of the month to talk about this, but nevertheless, it's still May for at least until midnight. So I want to talk about mental health awareness and the stigma that goes along with it, and how it can be hard to deal with. And I titled this mental health awareness, my testimony, because this is what this is about to be. I'm going to be totally transparent with you guys, because I'm hoping that maybe my situation and what I've gone through and continue to go through can be of assistance to somebody else who may be going through the same thing and just hadn't had anybody talk about it. In our community, especially I'm gonna say the Black community, mental health is looked at. So I mean, it's always been. There are people who believe that these conditions are real. There are people who believe that it's just the devil. That's just Satan. That's just There are people who believe that there are people who put a root on you or cast a spell on you or voodoo or something like that. There are so many different explanations that people use. And with this area, I'm down in Alabama, so of course I am in the Bible Belt. And a lot of times, um, the church or a church, and I don't want this to sound negative because I'm a very strong believer in God. God has brought me, kept me, and continues to keep me. And I will never, ever speak ill or discourage the power of prayer. But what I want people to understand is when you're praying, um, sometimes the answer to your prayers, the Lord gives it to you in directions of people to talk to or organizations to talk to, or He may guide you to seek medical help. I mean, and I guess that's the hardest thing because I personally know people who don't believe that mental illness is anything that you have to go see a doctor or take medicine for. You can take it to God in prayer, and He is going to fix it. I know that God can fix everything and anything, but I also know that faith without works is dead, and that sometimes the guidance you get is going to be to reach out to someone in human form to help you get where you need to go. So I want to say that up front because I never want people to think that I feel like prayer is not enough. I just feel like when you're praying, don't always feel like that the answer is just going to fall in your lap or you're just going to magically be healed because a lot of times it's more to it than that. The brain is a very complex um, organ. And I don't think there will ever be a way where we completely understand how the brain works. Um, with mental illness, people don't think about the brain as an organ that can break. You think when you think about the skeletal system, bones can break. They can put a cast on your arm, or they can do a procedure where they put a nail in and fix it. If it's a heart condition or kidneys, they can do a transplant. You know, certain stuff like blood pressure, they can give you medication for. And people are more open to that. But the brain is an organ as well. It can break down just like any other organ in your body. And in a lot of ways, it's the most important one because the brain is what guides your body to do what it needs to do. So I want you guys to kind of think of it from that standpoint as well. Like I said, this is going to be a personal testimony for me. So what I will say, and I can say this now, but it was very hard for me to initially share this with people. But I have a major depressive disorder, and I also suffer from anxiety. And when people hear that, they think depression. What you got to be sad about? You got a good job, you got a good family, this, that, and the other. And what people who don't suffer from depression don't understand is depression in my situation is a chemical imbalance. It just means that everything ain't popping on all cylinders like it should. But there are medications I can take that regulates it and gets it running back smooth so that you can see this self-confident, smiling, jokey, seem like I'm in a good mood most of the time, but I'm not always. But anyway, the me that you see today, the reason you're able to see that is because I recognized at an early age. I didn't actually start getting treatment as far as medically until I was 18 and an adult. But I've had this my whole life. I've always felt like and some of you may be going through this where you're like, why do I feel like this? There's nothing wrong. Life is good. I should be happy. First of all, I don't think there's anybody who's happy 24/7 every day. So that was an unrealistic expectation in itself. The other thing is, when I finally realized that I need to talk to someone, and I was talking to a mental health professional and they understood what I was saying, it was such a relief to know that I'm not just making this up. This is something that's real and other people go through it too. And that's why I'm sharing this and being transparent today, because some of y'all may be like me. I will not lie. There was a point in my life where I wanted to end my life in my early 20s. And I actually attempted it. Obviously, I wasn't good at it because I'm still here. Praise the Lord for that. But, it's a very real feeling. And the feeling is when you feel like there's no other solution. You can't think of any other way other than to leave this earth. And I want you guys to know that this is a very sad, empty, and hard to explain feeling because, like I said, people are like, what are you so sad about? There's nothing to be sad about. Girl, just pray about it. All you need to do is this and that. Well, that doesn't always work, especially if there's a chemical imbalance. So, like I said, I got on medication. I've been on medication for years. I see a psychologist. I saw a psychologist first. And then once I realized, because psychologists, they don't prescribe medicine. They're like counselors. They basically help you try to change how you think about things, try to help you see the glass as half full instead of half empty, gives you some strategies on how to think your way, change your train of thought so that you move better. And so I went through that, and then I got to a point where they felt like I needed to see a psychiatrist. Well, a psychiatrist is someone who can prescribe medications. So when you see them, that's when they're gonna, prescribe you something. And I'm 48. Over the last 30 years, I've been on some of everything, Prozac, Zoloft, all of the different it words for mental health medications for depression or antidepressants that you can think of. And finally, through experimentation, I found something that works for me. So I'm saying that to say, don't get discouraged if you do talk to someone or if you are having something and you feel like whatever they have on is not working. Voice that. The only way you can get help with mental illness is to talk about it. And I know a lot of us don't want to talk about it because it's such a negative stigma. Now that's my testimony from my own personal standpoint. I also can have a testimony from a caregiver standpoint because I have a brother who is now 40 years old that was diagnosed at 18 with having bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. He was hearing voices. He still hears voices, and he's had to be on different medication regimens. And now he's at a really good point, but these have been a really long 22 years. My parents, I don't even know how they did it. My mom and dad have been there every step of the way. A lot of times people in society want to throw away the mental. They don't want to deal with them. Throw them in jail, put them in a mental hospital. They just want to push them aside and get them out of the way because, like, mental illness, in my opinion, does not get the same respect that people with a terminal disease such as cancer or, heart failure or something like that. When people hear about that, it's different. You get a different response than when you tell somebody that you have somebody in your family that has a mental illness. And I think that's just because we don't know, the average person doesn't know how to deal with somebody that has mental problems. Well, caregiver support is important too. So if you know somebody who's dealing with even a parent with Alzheimer's or something, or in our case, my brother is schizophrenic, when you see those people out, just keep in mind, you know, that is somebody's child, that's somebody's brother, that may be somebody's parent. You just never know. So don't I guess what I'm saying is don't throw them away. Don't feel like, you know, that because they have something mental going on, that they're not people. Because they're people too. So that's another thing. And I also want to say now the depression that I have is something that I feel like I was born with, because like I said, I've been having this all my life. There are also situational depressions, and when I say that, that is like a lot of times we go through a major tragedy or crisis in our life that can lead us to be temporarily in a place where we're not happy, And I want to speak to that as well, because um, it doesn't, just because you're going through a rough spot doesn't mean, oh, they're gonna stick me on medicine, they're gonna give me this label, they're gonna put me in a crazy hospital. I have included on this screen a 1-800 number and a website, and this is for people who is 24/7, 365 days a week. If you are having some kind of issue and you want to talk to somebody, sometimes you just need to talk to somebody, So for most jobs, and I found this out in my early 20s, most jobs have something called EAP. EAP is your Employee Assistance Program. This is something that the jobs offer for when you are going through some type of situational issue and you feel like you're at a point where you need to talk to someone. They will literally set you up. Most plans will set you up with at least 2 to 3 free visits where you can go and talk to somebody. If it's situational, you may not need more than those 2 or 3. But just know that that is a feature that's there at most jobs. Check with your HR department. And if that's something that you feel like something just ain't right, go to them and let them know. And they can't hold it against you, at work. I know a lot of people are afraid to share something like that with the job because they think I'm going to end up losing my job because they think I'm crazy. Well, like I said, every job I've had, I've utilized the service because we all go through times when we need someone to talk to. So that's another thing I wanted to put out there for kids. We're so quick to say with kids, and I'm guilty of this too sometimes, with kids, like ain't nothing wrong with them, they need a butt whipping, or they just bad, or this and the other, or they're just dramatic. Well, I will say this. I didn't start, as I said before, getting help until I was 18. Before then, when I was in school, there were things and days when I just didn't understand why I felt the way I did. I didn't talk to my parents about it. I just felt like, I guess this is just a phase you go through or whatever. And now that I look back, I feel like if somebody had maybe asked me what was going on and opened that door, I might have could have talked to somebody sooner. So I'm saying this to say, if you have children, or my daughter had, she goes through things, and I was really concerned about this when I got pregnant because I have such a strong family history of mental health issues. It scared me that I might have a child that might go through the same thing. So that was one of my first questions when I got pregnant: is my baby gonna be crazy? I'm like, if I'm half crazy and her dad half crazy, we're gonna have 100% food on our hands. But that was just me being me. But my daughter has, over the years, she does have issues with anxiety. And when I felt like she needed to speak to someone, I went through the proper channels. The first thing I did was reached out to her school counselor. And I will say that the counselor at her elementary school was wonderful. She sat down with her and talked to her. And then based on her opinion, she advised me some other people that I could speak to. And I did reach out to people in the community regarding counseling, because I can't answer all the questions. I'm not a healthcare professional. I'm mama. Mama, and they don't believe what mama say anyway, because, mama's supposed to love you. She's supposed to tell you this, that, and the other. And so I needed somebody on the outside to be able to talk to her and she could feel comfortable speaking freely with. And we were able to find that thanks to people in the community who recommended people. So if your child is going through something, it doesn't mean that they're going to be labeled. It doesn't mean they're going to put them on Ritalin or this and the other. But if you see your child having some um, anxieties or, bad feelings, it is okay to reach out to a counselor and let somebody speak to them. Now, I will say, just like with hairdressers, mechanics, your medical doctor, everybody is not going to be a good fit. Not all of them are not created equal. So I will say, and I encourage people when I recommend that they speak to someone, don't stop at the first person you get to. If you're not comfortable speaking with that person and you don't feel like they're doing anything good, don't just throw the whole thing away. Find somebody else. You're gonna have to go through a couple of, and it doesn't make them a bad counselor. Sometimes they're just not a good fit for you. And that goes the same with hairstylists, barbers, whatever. Somebody else may love them. You may think they're trash. So that happens with this as well. So I will say, I know how hard it is when you are, especially if you're dealing with depression, because people, are, like I said before, they think, what are you so upset about? You should be happy. You're blessed, and you are blessed. And what people don't realize is for the person that's going through the depression, everything you're telling them, we've already said to ourselves. I've already said to myself, what is wrong with me? Why am I not happy? This is going good. This is going good. Why do I not feel like getting out of bed today? Why do I not want to talk to anybody today? Why am I shutting down? And it's even harder for that person. So if somebody does come to you, they always say check on your strong friends. There's no truer phrase. Check on your strong friends. And if somebody does come to you and say they're feeling a type of way, please don't discount it. Take it seriously. Advise them to talk to somebody. It's okay to tell them to pray about it, but also tell them if they're praying about it to be open to talking to somebody about it. So that's pretty much my spiel on mental health. Like I said, I got the banner going across. If you're catching the replay, even if you're fine today, it doesn't help to just write the information down and have it handy so that if something like that does happen, you have the resources to know who to talk to. And just know that it's okay to not feel okay. We all go through times when we don't feel okay, but we have professionals out here and counselors. Everything doesn't mean you're going to be put on medication. There are all kind of avenues that you can go down to get help with whatever you've got going on. You don't have to suffer in silence. And especially if you get to a point where you feel like life isn't worth living, please talk to somebody, because it could be something that is a simple fix. And just keep in mind, the brain is a very important organ. It malfunctions just like all the other organs. It needs to be taken care of. And mental health awareness is important. So anyway, thank you guys for taking time to listen to me. I hope something I said in my testimony will be helpful to someone else. If there's anything I can do personally to help out, or I'm not a therapist. I haven't gone to school for it. All I can do is tell my story and hope that my story helps somebody else who's going through something. So until I see you guys again, I'm going to wish you good mental health, and thank you for listening.